Imagine stepping into a dim prehistoric cave, firelight dancing across the walls. Your tribes gathered close, and the shamans passing around something unusual, not meat or water, but leaves and plants that twist your sense of reality. Suddenly there's laughter, wild visions, and this deep feeling of connecting to something bigger than yourselves. Sounds like some music festival from last summer? Nope. This was happening tens of thousands of years ago. Hey folks, what if I told you that getting high or altering your mind isn't some brand new thing invented by modern society? What if it's baked into who we are as humans, going back way further than most of us ever imagined? Our ancient ancestors weren't just scraping by, hunting animals and drawing on cave walls. They were experimenting with all kinds of substances to change how they felt and saw the world. And the proof is scattered across archaeological sites from every corner of the planet. In this video, we're unpacking the wild story of how ancient humans used drugs, everything from the first accidental buzz-off fermented fruit to full-on psychedelic rituals. It's not just some weird footnote in history. This stuff helped them survive tough times, heal, bond with each other, and maybe even spark some of the biggest ideas in human culture. Stick around, because by the time we're done, you'll look at your daily coffee or a cold beer in a whole new light. Let's rewind the clock. Think about our earliest ancestors out there wandering the earth. Life was no joke, predators everywhere, food hard to come by, and injuries that could end you quick. But at some point, they started noticing patterns in nature. Fruit that sat too long in the sun would start bubbling and fermenting. Eat enough of it, and boom, you get this warm, relaxed feeling spreading through you. That was probably humanity's first taste of alcohol. Scientists have uncovered evidence of people deliberately making beer-like drinks as far back as 13,000 years ago in what's now Israel. These weren't settled farmers with crops. They were still hunter-gatherers, brewing this stuff specifically for rituals to honor their dead. Before farming, before towns, before any kind of writing, humans were already crafting drinks for special ceremonies. Pretty mind-blowing when you think about it. But alcohol was really just the gateway. The story gets even more fascinating from there. But that's not even the craziest part. Take opium, for example, that milky sap from poppy plants. We usually connect it to later history, like Victorian times or today's headlines, but people were using it way back in the Neolithic era, at least 6,000 years ago across Europe and the Mediterranean. Poppy seeds turn up in ancient village sites, and those cool poppy-shaped jugs from Cyprus were traded all over, Egypt, the Middle East, you name it. Chemical tests on residues prove it. These weren't always just for pain. Some were clearly part of rituals, ceremonies, and yeah, probably for recreation too. In ancient Egypt, opium looks like it was more everyday than we once thought. Recent finds in fancy alabaster vases suggest it played a role in both daily life and sacred practices. Priests, pharaohs, regular people, they all knew the poppy's power. It dulled pain, brought on sleep, and maybe helped them feel closer to their gods or the afterlife. Picture a high priest mixing up a brew before a big ceremony near the pyramids, incense burning, the Nile in the distance. This wasn't some side hustle. It was threaded right into their culture. Then there's cannabis. Man, this plant's been hanging around with us forever. Traces in China go back thousands of years for making rope, medicine, and getting a little elevated. The Greek historian Herodotus described Scythian tribes in the 5th century BC tossing cannabis seeds onto hot stones inside tents and breathing in the smoke during funeral rites. Basically ancient hotboxing to honor the dead and maybe chat with spirits. Similar traces show up in ritual spots across the ancient Near East. It wasn't just useful. It was spiritual. But here's where things really start to blow your mind. What happened next changed everything. Go back even deeper, to the Paleolithic period, the era of those famous cave paintings. In Algeria's Tassili-Eniger region, there are rock art pieces from 7,000 to 9,000 years ago showing what look like shamans with mushrooms growing right out of their bodies. These aren't random sketches. You've got half-human, half-animal figures dancing around, surrounded by wild geometric patterns that scream hallucination. A lot of experts tie this directly to psilocybe mushrooms. There's one famous mushroom shaman, holding fungi, with lines connecting them straight to his head. Sounds a lot like ego death and feeling one with nature, doesn't it? These weren't weekend party trips. In hunter-gatherer groups, entering altered states was serious business. Shamans used these plants to heal the sick, see into the future, and hold the community together. Psychedelics might have even inspired some of those incredible cave artworks. The animals that seemed to move, the overlapping handprints, the dreamlike scenes. Imagine huddling in a pitch-black cave, fire flickering, eating those mushrooms, and suddenly the walls are alive with spirits. Experiences like that could glue a group together stronger than anything else. Over in the Americas, it got even more intense. When early humans made it across to the New World, they hit the jackpot with powerful plants. Peyote cactus with its mescaline, used in rituals for thousands of years. San Pedro cactus down in the Andes. Ayahuasca brews in the Amazon jungle. There's even a 1,000-year-old shaman's pouch found in Bolivia packed with coca leaves for cocaine, ayahuasca ingredients, and other stuff. These weren't casual party drugs. They were sacred tools for vision quests, working through trauma, and figuring out your spot in the big picture of existence. Peyote use dates back to at least 4000 BC in Texas. Mushroom rituals hinted at in Mexico long before Europeans showed up. Our ancient relatives down there were serious psychonauts. And this is where things get really interesting. Let's step back and think about the psychology side for a minute. Why have humans always chased these altered states? It's not purely about chasing a good time. Our brains are built to be curious, to seek out new experiences, to ease pain, and to strengthen social ties. In controlled, ritual settings, these substances likely help cut through anxiety, boost creativity, and process heavy emotions like grief. Modern studies on psilocybin back this up. They can lower the fear of death and crank up that sense of connection to others. Our ancestors figured this out through pure trial and error. Look at us today. We reach for coffee to get going, a drink to relax after work, cannabis where it's legal for chill or medical reasons, and there's serious talk about bringing psychedelics back for treating mental health issues. The core drive hasn't changed much. Just the setting has moved from smoky caves to therapy offices and living rooms. In ancient Greece, the Eleusinian mysteries ran for over 2,000 years. Regular people, plus heavy hitters like Plato and Cicero, would go through initiation. They'd fast, march in a big procession, then drink this special potion called Kykeon in a dark temple hall. What they experienced? Intense visions of the afterlife, huge personal insights, and this feeling of being reborn. A lot of scholars now believe the drink contained ergot fungus from barley, stuff that can create LSD-like effects. Experiments show the ancients probably had ways to make it safe enough for the ritual. Thousands kept the secret for centuries because it hit that hard. In China, they've found signs of fermented drinks from rice, honey, and fruit going back 9,000 years. In India and surrounding areas, cannabis played into spiritual practices. Betel nut in Southeast Asia, coca leaves in South America, tobacco and all kinds of rituals where it grew naturally. The list just keeps going. But wait, there's more that might really surprise you. Even our Neanderthal relatives might have dabbled. Remember the famous flower burial at Shanidar Cave in Iraq from around 60,000 years ago? Pollen from healing plants like yarrow and cornflower around one of the bodies. It's still debated, but it points to some pretty advanced plant knowledge, possibly for rituals or easing someone's final moments. Were they using mind-bending stuff too? We might never have solid proof, but it lines up with everything else we've seen. Our close cousins were probably exploring nature's medicine cabinet right alongside us. Of course, it wasn't all positive. Overdoing it, scary trips, addiction, those issues existed back then too. But most groups kept things in check through traditions, elders, and shamans. There was purpose and meaning built in, not the random, sometimes harmful ways we sometimes see now. As big civilizations popped up, Sumerians, Egyptians, Mayans, Romans, substances stayed front and center. Opium moved along trade routes, cannabis in medicine chests, alcohol at every feast and temple event. Kings, priests, soldiers, they all took part. It was simply part of the human experience. The biggest surprise in all this? Everything points to the fact that wanting to shift your consciousness isn't some glitch in modern life. It's a fundamental piece of being human. From the second